Hi there and welcome. This is Vince of vinceprep.com and Agos Consulting. This next one I've been thinking about for 20 years. The first domain I ever registered was like 1997. I remember I was at Isidore Newman School in New Orleans, Louisiana. I was getting ready to go join the Shakespeare Company, which is now called American Shakespeare Center or something. The guy's in Shenandoah Valley. Which used to be called Shenandoah Shakespeare Express. So I was heading off for this great adventure, and it just popped into my head one day. City stages, like all the world's a stage. Something, we all live in cities, even though we don't. Some of my best friends don't live in cities, but anyway, hopefully you're not looking at that as any kind of a judgment. Turns out it was a music festival, and they went bankrupt. These guys owned the domain citystages.org, and I still own, I think, citystages.com. Anyway, just a name. I've sort of been parking it, and it finally has come to sort of click all the pieces of this puzzle. Part of it is just age. I'm probably, if I'm lucky, halfway through my life. And it's like, I love getting people into school. I love helping people achieve their dreams, and getting an MBA is only one stage of one's life, and so stages, plural, city stages, many stages of life. What it is basically is a place to share your story. It's a community, an online community, whatever that means. It's a community, period. It can be in real time. We can have meetups. And it's a place to tell your story. And I'm going to define certain things in the beginning. Eventually, I sort of want there to be no rules, if you will, except be kind, or something about compassion. I do want it to feel safe. I don't want people to feel, attacked. Although some people like to attack each other, fine. There's 4chan or Reddit or whatever these other places are. But here it's sort of a nice, safe place, if you will, and that can be a beautiful thing. It doesn't mean you can't have fun. It doesn't mean you can't tell jokes or whatever. But I just want things to not be in a mean spirit. But that's also very subjective, right? You could say, you're being mean, and you could say I'm not being mean, and then it's an argument. Anyhow, I'll work all that out later. But back to the story, back to the vision. 1 minute, tell your story, and also there's two things I'm going to define. Three things. One, it's a safe space. Two, you've got a minute. And three, and that's really hard, I know, but I don't want this to be the place for my old style YouTube videos. And I'm already way over a minute, so I fail my own test. Safe space, 1 minute, tell your story. And, okay, four things. In the beginning, at least, I want your story to fall into one of four sort of buckets. And I'm defining these buckets pretty loosely. And also, coincidentally or not, I don't know, I seem to sort of have mind melded with these guys at Strengths Finder. I can never say that. It's hard to say. I'll say it slowly. Strengths Finder. You know it, I hope. Gallup now owns it. It's big. It's big money. It's in more than just money. I think it's a very time-tested tool. Another one I really like is Myers-Briggs. But anyway, Myers-Briggs is complicated. There's, 32 or something different fractal things. StrengthsFinder also has lots of different variables. But what I like about StrengthsFinder, and maybe Myers-Briggs has this too, I haven't looked at it lately, 4 big buckets. And I'll tell you what the buckets are later. That's not the point of this video. It's just safe space, share your story, it's a safe space in which to share your 1 minute story. I guess that's 2, whatever. It safe space to share your 1 minute story that fits within one of 4 buckets. I'll tell you the buckets later. And here's the fun part, because my best mentor ever, Judy, was a teacher, epic 30, 40-year-old veteran teacher at Everett Middle School in San Francisco, told me the very first and most important lesson I've ever learned as an educator is this. You can define the what or you can define the how. So it'd be like, her thing was, I remember visiting her classroom, and it was like Women's History Month, and you need to make a quilt square, and you need to write an essay, a short piece. But who, or in this case the what or the who, can be anyone you want. So any woman. So a girl wrote about Future Woman, which was very cool, like a sort of superhero. Another woman, of course, wrote about her grandma or her mother or her sister or Harriet Tubman or Eleanor Roosevelt or Margaret Thatcher or whatever. The people, depending on your perspective on the spectrum here of great women, Winnie Mandela, whatever, great women of history, great women of your life, or great women of your imagination. A great woman, but who, it wasn't defined. Which woman is totally up to you. And that was like, that really clicked with me. I was like, okay, great. So it's either you either define the what or the how. In this case, she was defining the how. So how will you tell the story of this woman? It will be various things. A piece of quilt. You can make a quilt, any kind of quilt you want. It can just be one square. It can be super intricate. A quilt, which all of us have quilting skills, but cool idea, such a cool idea. So a quilt square, and also because it's middle school and she's teaching writing, as a good middle school teacher should, you write about the woman. Who is she? Why you chose her? But who it is totally up to you. It doesn't have to be a woman from the American Revolution. It doesn't have to be a woman from this part of the world. It doesn't have to be a woman from your family or your life. Any woman you want, as a quilt square and as a essay or a short piece of writing. Anyway, my point about that story is to say that that's my model for this. So in my case, I'm defining the how. It will be safe for anyone to watch. So safe for work. No nudity or talking about someone's God or not trying to offend people or push the envelope. Again, the community will decide what safe means. And I say story, but let me come back to that, because that's where I'm giving you the freedom, the what, if you will. I don't know, actually, I'm getting confused which is the what and which is the how, but I think I'm defining the how. Safe, 1 minute story in one of 4 categories. And I'll explain the categories later. But here's the fun part. You can make a YouTube video, and now this one's almost 8 minutes, so I'm going to stop this one very soon. You can make a YouTube video. You can do an Instagram thingy. You can do or you can just sit in silence for a minute. Or you can play your bass. Or you can do a dance. Or you can paint a picture. Or you can play your bongo drum. Anything for a minute. Or you can do a combination. You can sing a song while playing your bass or your bongo drum. Or again, I'm a musician, so all of my examples sort of tilt towards music. Or you could do a monologue, which I'm doing now, and it's 9 minutes. Sorry. I'm so excited about launching this, and my point is, I'm going to define certain parts of this. I'm going to leave other parts of this, and the last thing I'll say is basically, I want to make currency of truth. I want to have a currency of truth, and I want to reward the people. I want these stories to be true. I want them to be real. And that also gets back to safe. You're not going to be like, you could be like, this person made me so mad. My second grade teacher was the worst ever, and I'm going to tell her off now. Like, okay, is that fun to listen to? So the community, and I hate to use the sort of Zuckerberg thing, whatever, there'll be currency will be sort of like, I don't know what to call them, likes or some things like hearts. It's like, love it, great, feel good about it, interested in it, want to know more. Here's some feedback. And the feedback will be, the value of the feedback will also be determined by the community. So that's where the sort of credibility and trust comes into play, where it's game theory, where it's not just like, yes, we will have police, if you will, or whatever you want to call them, safekeepers, I already got someone in mind who's like the best person I know to do this. It would sort of be like the safekeeper of this space. And also, the community will sort of decide or vote or give you credibility for telling a good story that's sensitive and sincere. And yes, it can be about real people, but you're not saying it you're saying it sort of stories from the heart, if you will. And again, that sounds so Hallmark or whatever, but I really care about that stuff because there's so many nasty places in the world. I don't want this to be another nasty place. So that's it, really. City Stages. Vote for this video or like this video. Get in touch with me if you're interested. I'm planning on, I want to, again, I'm a big dreamer. I'm imagining this will eventually have some sort of haptic suit because I want you to use your body. I just saw Real Player One. Loved it, by the way. I'm sorry, all the haters. Ernest Cline is more or less my age, and that's that's my stuff, right? He's got his hands, he's got his gloves. That's my stuff. I'm an 80s kid. I'm a child of the 80s, so it's like, how could I not love that film? Anyway, a haptic suit, a this, a that, a VR, Google goggle thing or whatever. I don't care. And also Alexa, whatever, home, Google, Apple, talk to me thing, microphone. This is my device. Share it however you want. Express yourself in a safe space. Get feedback on your story and develop your story and have sort of a space where the currency is stories, where stories are sort of money, if you will, like StoryCoin. Let's all geek out about that. Not necessarily, no, but Story World, City Stages, Story World, City Stages. These are some brand things I've thought of. Like very last thing, City Stages, share you, or City Stages, share your story, or All the World's a Stage. Are you a player is another one. City Stages, and stages just in the general sense of what happens on a stage. A speech is given on a stage. A dance is done on a stage. A music performance is given on a stage, right? A live performance art piece is enacted. A puppet show is done on a stage. Juggling, clowns, dancing animals, whatever. You've got it all there on a stage, and stages are great. And I'm an actor. I'm a child of the stage. So, and okay, very, 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 very last thing is why. Why am I doing this? Well, I've talked about this before, but I had trouble talking. I mean, literally, I had trouble. Certain sounds, my mouth had to be trained in how to make an R sound. And it was cool. I had a great speech therapist, speech pathologist, hats off to her. I wish I remembered her name. It was 3rd grade. I remember that. I don't remember her name, but once a day I'd go, or once a week, I don't remember, I'd go and she'd teach me how to say R. Like, are you ready? I used to say like what they call a Maryland R, because I used to live in Maryland. So it was like Baltimore. It was like I was from Baltimore. Anyway, much love to Maryland. I had a speech issue, and also I stuttered. So speaking for me on stage, and I remember the very first time I tried to get on a stage, I froze. Totally froze. I remember it was Cub Scouts, and I was doing a puppet show, and I had written a monologue, and I blanked on my monologue. I just straight up froze on the stage, and that was awesome. It was an early traumatic experience, and overcoming that early traumatic experience. Now we're at 14 minutes. All right, let me just stop. But it took a lot of effort and money and energy and time for me to get over that early trauma, if you will. And look, I know speaking in public or telling your story is stressful because there's all kinds of haters out there. And they're not even haters. They're just your parents. And they're like, wait, what? And they're jumping in and they're trying to understand it. And you're like, whoa, forget it, or whatever. There's people in our lives who are trying to help us, probably, hopefully, or not, or they just want to tell their story, or it's like your time's up, or, you're competing for space, and I'm competing for your time and attention. I really, really, really am going to end this video now. Look, that's what I'm trying to make. AR, VR, I don't care. You name it. I want it. I want to make this space. I'm dedicated to it. I'm down. Are you down? Let me know. Thanks for watching. As always, subscribe. My glasses are filthy. I make these videos every chance I get. Subscribe. You'll be the first to know when I made a new one. Bye for now.